Welcome back to another episode of Beyond Rockets. Today I'm sitting down with two small business owners here at Sanctuary Huntsville. We are live today. They do makers markets on Saturdays from 10 to 3, so come out here and support through the end of May. Thank you so much for being here and sitting down and talking with me. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
All right. Hey, my name is Dean Lilja. I am a local engineer working on projects here in the town, but running the paint classes. So we do a paint class Monday nights at 6, and we're open to anybody to come out and enjoy and throw a little paint around.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, my name is Kyle Husband, and I own Offbeat Coffee Studio. We are a craft coffee shop and a record store.
Awesome. Well, so obviously, both your backgrounds weren't obviously in paint necessarily and in coffee. Can you tell me about what your backgrounds were in and what you were doing prior to starting Offbeat and starting the paint classes?
All right. So I've always been an artist. I've always wanted to draw and paint. I come from a family that apparently excels in that stuff. And so having worked at one of the other venues here in town, which was Spirited Art, when they shut down due to COVID, we were looking for another venue for this. And my friend Kenny was starting up the Sanctuary, and so I said, it might be kind of fun to restart the painting classes. And he was all over it and thought it would be a great idea, and so that's what kind of got us into running the classes now. So
so my background, I'm from Huntsville originally, and I went to school at Ole Miss, and I got back from school in, I think it was 2012, and then I met my now wife around the 2016 mark, and when we met, she actually got a job at Honest Coffee downtown, and I ended up spending way too much time and money there hanging out with her, and, I just kind of fell in love with the coffee scene, with coffee, the community around coffee, just pretty much everything to do with it. And, I'd always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I never really knew what exactly kind of entrepreneur I wanted to be. And after spending so much time in Honest and talking to all those people, I really just kind of fell in love with that community and decided that I wanted to become a part of it. And, obviously, we're a record store as well. I've always liked listening to records. Like, my dad was a big audiophile as I was growing up. I used to mess around with his records, and I love going to live concerts and all of that kind of stuff. So, marrying the two records and coffee together kind of made sense to me. So that's kind of where we got our start. Yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit, Dean, that you're an engineer by trade. Where did you end up going to school, and what kind of engineer are you? And you, Kyle, you went to Ole Miss. Obviously, you didn't get a coffee degree at Ole Miss. So kind of what was that? What was the vision at that point when you were getting your degree? Then what you hope to do with that? Yeah.
So I went to school out in California, Cal State Fullerton, and just became an engineer doing mechanical work and electrical work and things like that. And I got into doing printed circuit board layout, which is the computer boards that you have in your computers. I love doing it. To me, it's just a puzzle. And to me, it's like one of those things that's just too easy for me to do. So I love it. There's no degree that's available for that kind of thing. You're either a mechanical engineer or an electrical engineer, and doing printed circuit board layout is just kind of an odd niche employment deal. And so I love doing it. I've been working for SAIC for several years. And what I needed was a creative outlet. And so doing the artwork, getting back into that, I've got a studio at home, and then doing this stuff here at the Sanctuary and the previous jobs doing the teaching and the work for the art. I love doing it. And so it's just been a great creative outlet. So.
And for me, so my educational background, obviously I went to Ole Miss, and while I was there, I was getting a business degree. And I was, finishing up my business degree in 2008, right when the bottom dropped out of the economy. And my mom calls me up and she's like, listen, you're getting an art minor right now. Why don't you go ahead and extend that into a double major? So that's what I did. I ended up getting a double major in art and business. And to kind of, stay away from trying to be in the job market in 2008, 2009. Ended up putting it off for a couple more years. I actually come from a pretty artistic background as well. Interestingly, my grandmother was Betty Grisham. She's kind of a regionally famous artist around these parts. So, I grew up doing art and all of that kind of stuff too. But none of that really kind of, I guess the business degree applies to coffee, but But yeah, that's kind of my background.
So, I mean, I think there's a lot of people that are probably listening that are like, I always had a passion for doing something. Like you had a passion for coffee, you kind of got into that. You got a passion for art, and you were doing that. But I think kind of transitioning that passion from a passion to actually kind of a business and kind of getting that business model is a tough thing for people. People often see it as two separations. Like I have passion and I have work, and sometimes like it's tough to find things you can do both of. How were you both able to get that passion and actually figure out how to make a business out of it? And even obviously you're still an engineer and you're still doing that, but you're able to still kind of be a business owner in the art as well.
Yeah, it's been kind of odd because having worked at Spirited Art, I just saw the passion and things that were involved in doing that, and it's to me the greatest joy is to watch somebody come in and say, I can't paint, I can't draw a straight line, I can't do anything, and by the end of the evening they're taking home a painting that they've made and they're actually proud of it. And so that to me is the fun. But when everything kind of shut down because of COVID, I was like, we've got to figure out a way to do this. And so Kenny, being a great friend here at the Sanctuary, said, why don't we do it here? Why don't we resurrect it? It'll be a great way for people to get out, and it gives them exposure to maybe joining the Sanctuary and doing that. So it's a scary thing, and I'm sure Kyle can probably attest to that, trying to do your own business and plus having a full-time job, it's hard to fit it all together. And so I've been trying to get it all worked out so that I can do this, but it's growing and it's fun. And so, thank goodness I've got the support of my wife and family, and so we all do this, but I love doing it.
Yeah, and for me, I've already said that I met my wife about 6 years ago or so ago, and we weren't really sure whether or not we wanted to stay in Huntsville after we were getting married, and we both love New Orleans. We had talked a lot about moving down there, and Anna actually ended up getting an offer for an apprenticeship at a tattoo studio in Huntsville, actually in Campus 805. Around the same time that we were talking about the possibility of opening a coffee shop, and we came to a crossroads there. It's like, well, do we want to put roots down and really start our careers here in Huntsville, or do we want to pick up, move somewhere else, and try to create some roots somewhere else? And with all of the growth that's going on in Huntsville, that has been going on in Huntsville, we decided that this is kind of the place to be. It's gonna, if it's not cool now, it's going to be cool later. And I think that was really a good decision on our part, because Huntsville has grown into this thriving community that it is today. And yeah, I'm really glad that we decided to stick it out and put roots down.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at the time that you probably had the idea, I mean, there were quite a few coffee shops around, I guess, at the time you started about 3 years ago, I guess. But you kind of got at the point where, like, at the cusp of when it started growing really big.
Yeah, that's definitely correct. As I mentioned earlier, my wife worked at Honest Coffee. They were, them and Alchemy Coffee were kind of the first, quote unquote, third wave coffee shops in Huntsville, the first craft coffee shops in Huntsville. And, we kind of got in there in the beginning of the craft coffee boom, if you will. Right after us, Charlie Foster's opened, and Alchemy moved out to the camp. That's now Green Room, and a few of these other shops started opening up all around us. But yeah, we got in at a really good time, honestly.
Yeah, and I think as you said, like as the way the community in Huntsville's going, I mean, their support for local shops, local creators has been huge. How do you think, for both of you, the community of local creators and community of local entrepreneurs and small business owners has helped you as a business owner thrive and be successful?
Well, for me, being out at Low Mill, my wife and I used to go out there and sell and look at the Low Mill thing, and that was our first exposure to the artsy crowd. And so it was kind of fun to see that there is, in fact, that kind of thriving art community. And so knowing that, it made us a little bit more confident about being in Huntsville and being able to at least not have everything be, weapons and work and things like that. It's like there is actually some neat culture growing, and I think it's great that as we grow, as the city becomes bigger, it's going to be even more and more successful for businesses like the Sanctuary, or for even Low Mill, and for coffee shops like Kyle's, where it's like people want something different. They want something that's anybody can get a Starbucks or you can get a coffee at McDonald's, but getting a really good coffee is a little hard to find, and it has been until recently. And so, having businesses like Kyle's is great, and having a place for an outlet like the painting classes. It's one of those things where you can at least have folks come out and just dabble in the arts. It just doesn't exist. Schools have really cut back on art programs, and so I think being able to offer that to kids and adults, it's a great movement forward.
Completely agree with all of that. Interestingly, one of my first exposures to craft coffee was also at Low Mill when Alchemy was there. And, you kind of asked how, other local businesses and local business owners have kind of helped my business succeed. And what I would say about that is, especially during COVID, when COVID hit in 2020, the local businesses kind of had to band together. Everybody was struggling. And so, I would talk to Christy over at Honest Coffee, or Jeremy, one of the chef and one of the owners at Fat Sammy's, or, a multitude of other people in town. And we would give each other advice, take advice from each other. Downtown Huntsville Inc. played a huge role in, I think, getting a lot of these a lot of these small businesses through COVID, and they had weekly Zoom meetings with all the new precautions and CDC guidelines and all of that kind of stuff, and really helped us keep on top of it and to keep on top of what was going on as far as like what we had to do as business owners in the middle of the pandemic. I think that all of those things like really helped us get through and really helped the entire small business community in downtown Huntsville.
Yeah, and I think like COVID was a tough time, and I couldn't. I mean, I feel like y'all definitely were challenged in it too, because you have this passion for something that you really enjoy, and you really see the vision of what this is. You read it, spirited art, and you see the success it had. The coffee shop at that point was a year and a half, 2 years in. I would say. Before COVID hit, I guess it was actually, I think I went to your 2-year party like a week before it got shut down.
Yep.
And so like the timing, you're seeing this success, you're growing huge, you're seeing spirited art grow, you're seeing your coffee shop grow, and your passion is like being able to be given to a lot of other people. You're able to see that the happiness on people's face when you're able to do this. And then COVID hits, and you're like, now you can't come in, you can't do art, you can't really like. That is like how did you have to both mentally like accept and kind of fight through the last couple of years when you weren't able to really see that passion as much? But now, I mean, I think at least for us, I mean, we're able to be out and do all this great things and see people, and kind of that passion's able to be reignited. But for a little while, it wasn't, and so you're having to fight that and figure out how to continue to have the vision you have for your coffee shop and continue the art stuff in a time when it's really tough to do it.
Well, and with the art classes, it's been interesting, and especially because of COVID, I think there's been a really big reinvention in the way things are doing and things are going around this town and around the country. And so being able to have this is a great leap for people that want to try and do that. And I think not being able to do it for a while has enabled us to maybe take that leap. And so I really think that this is something that, as kind of a social creature, someone that likes to do this kind of stuff, it was inevitable that we were going to find something. I mean, I know Kyle probably was like, I got to get out and do this stuff. And I'm like, I want to go out and do this painting stuff. And so being able to find a place like the Sanctuary to work at has been a great opportunity. And so I really just feel that, you need to go out there and do those things that everybody has kind of had to reinvent during the pandemic. So getting out there and doing it is really important.
So like trying to get our passion through COVID. Like it was at the beginning of COVID, we Offbeat Coffee, we had to make one of the hardest decisions I've had to make as a business owner, and lay off our entire staff because we just weren't having people coming in. And it was me, my wife, and my business partner Drew that were running the coffee shop by ourselves. That usually is run by like 11 or 12 people. And there were days that we would do $20 in sales in the middle of COVID, and that's pretty terrible for any business, I would say. And so it was a lot of work. It was a lot of heartache. It really did test those passions, but like I was saying earlier, with the support of the community, the support of the other business owners in town, like we were able to get through it. And Dean mentioned something interesting about I kind of feel like a lot of places and businesses have kind of changed the way they're doing things. And, we definitely had to make some pivots. We are right now getting into roasting coffee instead of just being retail locations. And, I think that's kind of a quote unquote pandemic proof business plan, and that's one of the reasons we're going into that. But I feel like almost every business has had to make some sort of pivot that they weren't planning on in 2019. And I kind of feel like it's for the better for most of these businesses. Like, it's really tested the strength of these businesses and tested the resolve and the ability to adapt of a lot of the business owners in all over the country.
Yeah, so we've kind of gotten through it, I think. I mean, I'd like to think that generally the pandemic is on the serious decline, and so we can get back to it. And I would advise anybody that was interested in doing something like that as a business is stick with it, keep going. That's the one thing, is that it can be really depressing when, like, we had a class to do a painting thing over at Spirited Art, one client, right? So it was me and this other lady, and we just sat there and said, well, I guess we're going to paint tonight. So it can be kind of, you can knock the pegs out from under you to try and have to do that, but it's like, okay, just keep going. Keep going. This is something that it will pass. You'll get better, and the more contacts you make, the more, social interactivity, the more publicity you can get, it will get better.
Yeah, and I think what Kyle said about just like the pivoting. I mean, I think a lot of COVID was not a time that business owners. It was the great time to start a business, great time to be a business owner. It was just a tough time all the way around. But the pivoting has allowed businesses to rethink how they do business, and that actually might have been better for them in the long run. But it takes sometimes the tough things like COVID to have that happen. And I mean, even you opened up another location during COVID.
Yeah, that we did. And, I signed that lease before COVID started.
Yeah, so you're like, come on.
Whoops.
But yeah, so we have a second location. It's out at the Redstone Gateway before you get to Gate 9 of the Arsenal. It is a little bit of a different of a business plan than our original cafe. It is a drive-through and walk-up only shop, which actually was very advantageous during the height of COVID, being able to give people their coffee through a window instead of having to have them come into the shop. So, I think it was a great thing. Like, honestly, it was, not the best time to open that shop, but, that was kind of out of my hands at that point. So, we tried to look at the silver lining and see how we could, help our customers better and make sure that they're feeling comfortable. And I feel like that drive-through location really helped achieve that.
Yeah, because I mean, you're able to provide that same quality coffee that you're able to provide at your studio in a convenient manner. And like you said, people at the time, I mean, everyone really wasn't going to work, so you're having to juggle two locations, no staff, and being able to kind of run it to now see it now. I mean, you mentioned right when you came, right when I met you a little while ago, that the business you're having now is probably the best business you've seen since COVID.
Yes, I would say that is 100% right. We are finally, things are starting, our numbers are starting to look like they did pre-COVID, which this is last month was probably the first month I could say that. And, it's a big relief as a business owner to be like, okay, we're back on track. Like, this is where we need to be.
We made it through that moment, the last 2 years of just like uncertainty to now end up where you are now, and you're like, now we're staying on the up and up. Now it's just like, can we find people to help me?
Right.
Can you find these employees to help you kind of continue this vision that you have? And I feel like that's something that you probably are both dealing with, is like, as your visions for your paint continue to grow and you continue to have success here at the Sanctuary and the coffee studio continues to grow. I mean, having people that kind of buy into that vision that you have and kind of see that through is a tough thing right now. How are you both dealing with that?
The art of the pivot, I think, is really something that you need to just latch onto and do. And so when you want to, think about how you can do it, I guess it's been like when the stock market goes down and everybody panics. And the smart people say, okay, now it's time to jump in. And so I think that when COVID hit and, Kyle's business was affected, he actually expanded. And it may not have been an advantage or an opportunity that could have come to him without that. And so it's the same thing with being able to have the business here at the Sanctuary, is that nobody's painting. I mean, I think there's a couple other places in town that are doing it, but there's not a lot. And so the fact that everybody is kind of in this weird little, pandemic recession, it's like, okay, this is a good time to start. This is a good time to build. So let's retool, pivot, like Kyle said, and let's figure out how to do this, because it's an odd opportunity that I think with business owners may be neglecting, if they're not taking advantage of it, is to say, well, now that I've got this chance to do everything different, I don't have to follow the same pattern that everybody has for the last 20, 30, 50 years. We've got this chance to like start over, you know, and it's like, what can I do now that hasn't been done before? And I've got the freedom to say, hey, it's post-pandemic. We can do anything we want. So, you know, that's the advantage.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree with all of those points. And, you know, I think the original question was about finding people to share your vision and to help work with you. And, you know, that has been hard since the pandemic has been winding down. You know, I love my current staff. Like, they are amazing people, and they like good people are hard to find right now. And you know, I'm super thankful for them, but you know, we still need more people. Like, shameless plug, if you are looking for a job, come apply at Offbeat Coffee.
Yeah.
You know, we're always looking for more people because we are still in a growth stage, and you know, with the growth of the business comes growth of our staffing woes. So yeah, it is a little bit hard right now, but you know, I would much rather be on this side of the pandemic than the other side.
Yeah, and I think one thing that Dean mentioned that was kind of interesting is just that, you know, I think this is the time now that things are starting to pick back up, that if you even try, if someone's listening and has a passion for X, Y, or Z, and they're looking to make this passion more of a business, like, this is the time to do it and fail and it be okay. Because I think there's a lot of times that, like, you know, everything's before pandemic and everything kind of not seemed perfect, but you know, it was a little bit easier. Everything was a little easier. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, you know, there's no wrong idea. I mean, there never was, but I think now it's like people are a lot more open for you to try things and fail at them and it not work, and then pivot to try new things. Because the amount that you're going to learn if you launch something at Offbeat and it just does not hit, the amount that you'll learn from that is going to be so much beneficial if you just than not trying it at all. Same thing with the art. Like, okay, let's try to market it this way. Let's try to promote it this way. Well, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you've learned a lot. And the market itself, the consumer market itself, is so different than it was before COVID that you don't really know what's going to work. And you're just having to try things. And so I think just putting yourself out there and being willing just to give it a try and try something new is a huge thing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. There are really no barriers to what we will do to not build a business. And so I think that with Kyle, you know, expanding his and doing the drive up, that was a brilliant move. I mean, who knew, right?
Right.
And so doing the thing here in the midst of a wood shop or an auto repair area, which is just so different from what was happening at the other places that I've been at. It's like, this is kind of cool. This is a new thing. It's like, yes, you can paint. You can also work on your car. You can also have your kids play with Legos. You can also go upstairs and sew, or you can make a 3D print of something. So being able to offer that much more than just, you know, as Kenny said, it's more than a makerspace. So it's more than we can do or that you can do. And I think that, you know, people that can come to Kyle's place and get great coffee, or come here and experience a whole bunch of things that you can do. I mean, it doesn't get any better. I mean, it can only go uphill at this point, which is great because we've survived the dip and now we're on the uphill, you know, progress.
Definitely. I'm going to hijack this for just a second and talk about Sanctuary. This is the first time I've ever been here, and it is a really, really cool place. Like Dean was just saying, they have a place where you can work on your car. They have a wood shop. They have 3D printing upstairs. They have the computer stuff going on up there. They have a maker's market on Saturdays. Like, this is a really, really cool, unique kind of space that I own a business that is basically across the street, and I had no idea it was here. And this is a really cool spot.
Yeah, there's so much going on in Huntsville now, and like with what Kenny's been able to do at the Sanctuary and being able to see that grow. I think they just got past the 100 member mark recently, and like that's a huge. I mean, the steps and the things that he's put into the community with the Sanctuary and with all these things that are going around is just huge. And like, there's so much going on that, like, I mean, I can't consume it all,
right?
And so there's so many people out in the community that are doing amazing things. You just have to be willing to just go find them and go look, because there's just amazing things going on.
Yeah, one of the things that we had with the Sanctuary that was to our advantage was that it was kind of on the down low. You really didn't know it was here, but the members knew, and so we could just come in here and do our thing. Now that we have the marketplace, we need people to see it, and so we're trying to get our name out there and do more things. But it's like, you know, visibility and social work and getting everybody to know that you're out there is really the key. And so I would advise that to anybody starting a business is, you know, don't think you can exist by, you knowing about it and your kids knowing about it. And it's like, you've got to have everybody know. And so put your name out there, get your signage, get, PR, social media, it's all has to work together. And with everybody working from home, it's that much more important that you get visibility in the neighborhood.
Yeah. How much of y'all's success thus far in your industries that you're in would you contribute to being in the right place at the right time, and how much would you contribute to your hard work?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a interesting question there, Clark. So I do kind of feel like we were a little bit in the right place at the right time. We were, like I was saying earlier, one of the first few craft coffee shops to open in town, and I think that really enabled us to capture some momentum that was starting to build at that point. But we also have worked really hard to get Offbeat to where it is. I mean, this as well. You used to run all of our social media and all of that kind of stuff. You were intimately involved with Offbeat for a long time, and we put in the hard work and a little bit of luck.
Yeah, I think that being in the right place at the right time is really kind of interesting, because Kenny has been a friend of mine for years, and when he started this, the Sanctuary, it was like, well, that sounds like a really cool idea, and I wanted to join anyway. And then we were sitting having breakfast over at the Blue Plate one morning. I'm like, hey, what if we did the painting class? It's like, I am all over it. That is the greatest thing. Let's do it. And Kenny has been the greatest facilitator for anybody that has an idea or a way to expand or do things here. And so this has been like a really good opportunity, but it was one of those things where it's like, hey, what if? And, again, it's like, because everybody else is shut down, this is a golden opportunity.
Yeah.
For people that are doing things that have been curtailed or cut out by COVID, jump in. This is the time. Yeah,
and I think it's like you can have the greatest opportunity, but if you're not willing to put the work in at the time when you have that opportunity, or the time prior to the opportunity won't be as successful as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like the work that you did prior to opening up your second location, at a time that really wasn't the best time, but the opportunity was there, and the opportunity now has been successful. But like the hard work you did before and after it has made it continuing to be successful. And so having those in tandem with each other makes the opportunity the best. And so you have to have that. Otherwise, it's just an opportunity, and they'll fly by, and you'll be able to grasp on as quickly as you can. One thing that I
no, go ahead. Clark, go
ahead. One thing that I recently read that was really interesting, that kind of I think is a mindset that I've never thought about when being a business owner, being a small business owner, is the idea of a gap and a gain. And so rather than looking at the gap you have between where you are and where you want to be, you should look at the gain you've made from where you are now and where you started. And so it's that gain that you've made from, having that initial idea to opening up a shop to, getting to that, not, okay, I'm here and I want to be here. Like that gap's just too big. But looking at how far you've come and the gain you've made is a great perspective to look at it, because it makes the process much more enjoyable. How do you stay in the moment and work in the moment that you're in now and try to be successful there, while also thinking about where you want to be and kind of doing them in tandem? Like how does your mindset have to be to kind of be successful long-term as well as short-term?
I would say that's something I kind of struggle with anyway. I am always looking ahead and trying to figure out what our next move is going to be, and I rarely ever revel in the moment. That's actually something I should probably actively start trying to do more. But yeah, it's important to be able to revel in the moment and to be able to look forward and try to figure out how you can achieve those goals that you've set for yourself.
Yeah, starting from zero and doing this business has been interesting. So it's like there's really nowhere to go but up. I mean, when you get down to one person, you really can't do much worse than that. Other than having no person, nobody show up. But I think that it just takes the hard work and fighting the desire to say, this isn't working. This is not the right move. Oh, this is not the right time. There is no wrong time. It's just a matter of be willing to put in, get the elbow grease going and make it work.
Yeah.
Do that hard work. Show up every day. Show up every night. Promote the business.
Yeah.
Talk to people. Be social. I mean, you can't do this and hide in your closet. You've got to get out there and you've got to work for it.
Yeah. Business is hard, and it gets harder. It doesn't. There's no like magic carpet you get to write off one day and say, obviously there's things that can happen that you get there, but it doesn't get easier. It just continues to get harder, and the pandemic hasn't helped. But there'll be other things that's going to come up that's not going to make it easy. I mean, right. There's always going to be some obstacle that's going to make business harder, and as you continue to grow and be successful, business continues to get harder and harder. It doesn't just get easier because you've gotten more successful or gotten bigger. How can people that are listening right now support you both in what you're doing and go to the art class or buy some coffee, or how can they find you?
Yeah, look us up at Huntsville HSV or sanctuaryhsv.com. Sign up for a class. Come on out anytime you want. We're open to kids classes, adults classes, anything you want to do. We don't have to paint the same painting that we all do. We always have somebody that goes rogue and paints what they want, and that's fine. But come on out and take a look around the shop. I think if you do a class or two here, you might end up signing up for the Sanctuary as well, which doesn't get you a discount with my business, but it does get you an opportunity to do a lot of neat things. And so I would encourage people to come out and just give it a try. You might find an artist in you.
So Offbeat Coffee, we are our main flagship location is located in Campus 805, right next to Straight to Ale, right across the street from where we're at right now. And we have our second location that we were just talking about at the Redstone Gateway, on the front of that office park right before you get to Gate 9 of the Arsenal. You can find us online on Facebook or Instagram at Offbeat Coffee Studio. At Offbeat Coffee Studio. So that's a great way to kind of get your thumb on the pulse of what we've got going on. And, come see us. Come drink some good coffee and buy some records and listen to some music. And let's hang out.
Well, thank you all again so much for being here. Thank you to the Sanctuary, Kenny, for allowing us to do this podcast. If you're hearing a lot of noise in the background, there was Legos happening, there was kids coming, there was markets going on. And if you haven't been out to the Makers Market at the Sanctuary yet, you should definitely come out. It goes to the end of May. But thank you all again for being here. It's great learning more about your stories. Continue to look for the success that you will have in the community in Huntsville for years to come.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Clark.
Thanks,
Always
Clark.
a pleasure.